Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing? Good to see you. What a faff on. Now my camera's all skew with, and it looks like my keyboard's on a bit of an angle behind me. Are you all right? Do you know the ongoing technical problems? That's better. The ongoing technical problems plague me. It's took me quarter of an hour just to kind of get my camera to work. And now my hair's not right. It's took me that's even worse. It's took me quarter of an hour to get my camera to work. It's this side. See, it's all the wrong way around. How are you doing? Why am I bothered about my hair? Of course I'm bothered about my hair. Son of a hairdresser. There you go. Got my coffee. Anyway, hello. Good to see you. Where are we at? Now I've got no idea where anything is on my computer because I have done a little bit of preparation this morning. Just so I know what I'm going to say, really. The answer is no. One of the things that I talk about in some of my training that I do is how to say no. And I think I might have covered this on here before, but I had a bit of a trawl back through the previous titles, and nothing alluded itself to this concept of how to say no. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And in the knowledge, the safe knowledge that repetition is pretty good for us. Hearing the same thing a few times is good. And I'd imagine something about how to say no is probably really good because we're a bit rubbish at it, really, aren't we? And there are reasons for that. There are, which I'm going to actually, one of my plans very soon is on my Patreon account is to record the whole session. It's about an hour long, a little bit more, on how to say no. And I'm going to put that up there on the paid level, which is only a few quid a month. But anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. But it kind of made me think, well, let's have a chat about it this morning because it's in my head. It's in my head to do it. And I'm going to also generate one of those little books I do. So there's a couple of little books on Amazon. One about managing emails and one about working from home. And the next one's going to be this one on how to say no. Anyway, enough of the hard sell. One of the reasons we find it difficult to say no, let's start with that, is we have evolved to cooperate. Okay, so there's this whole thing about, as a species, are we cooperative or competitive? And the short answer to that question, of which books have been written, is that we're largely cooperative. We like to work together on things towards common goals. So we like to be helpful, and we like to kind of put ourselves out there and be supportive of others. So it's quite a natural reaction when you're confronted by somebody asking you to do something, especially if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed and a bit stressed. It's quite natural when somebody asks you to do something. What you do is you just say yes, and then you go away and sit quietly and think, I should have really said no there to that. But now I've said yes. And the problem with saying no is if you don't do it immediately, if you say yes, then you have to go back and go, actually, no. Well, it's not good. It doesn't enhance your professional kind of status, your professional standing, if you like. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you said yes, and now you're saying no. What's going on here? So I've got this idea, this, I suppose it's a neurological thing. It's about creating neural pathways that help us think in certain ways. So because we're reciprocal, the neural pathway that lots of us have is say yes. We're wired in our brains to say yes, to be helpful and supportive. If we can kind of rewire ourselves to think, not say, but think no when somebody asks us something. Think no. And then quickly, or if you need time, buy yourself time, quickly work yourself from no to yes, if that's the right thing to do. But because you've started with no, it sets you up with an inquiring mind. Caroline Webb, in her book How to Have a Good Day, would call this utilizing your discover access rather than utilizing your defend access. Saying yes, Caroline Webb argues, is a defensive position because you want this person out your face. You want this person to not be troubling you anymore, and their question is troubling you. So actually, the shortcut is to just say yes, because then you've defended yourself, but you've given yourself a problem. If you open up your discover access, which is, maybe I need to say no to this, but before I say no or yes, I maybe need to find out a bit more. So you start asking questions. Well, tell me a bit more about the project. Tell me a bit more about the thing you want to do. Tell me a bit more about this urgent thing that's required of me. Tell me a bit more. Tell me a bit more about the person you want me to go and talk to. Tell me a bit more about this. The problem, the reason we don't like to instigate our discover access is now it looks like we're interested. It now looks like we're interested in doing the job, so we err away from we err away from pushing our discover access. So we just opt for the defend access, which gets the person out of our face. And the reasons behind that, as well as the neurological thing, is we just like to be liked, don't we? And we like to be accepted, and we don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. And there is something in that actually often the person asking us might be struggling with the fact that they're having to ask us. You know, um, it might be difficult for them. They might know we're already overworked. They might know we've already got too much to do, but actually they've been given the task to hand on to somebody, so they have to kind of ask us. So we're cognizant of all that kind of stuff, aren't we? You know what I mean? And one of the other reasons that we tend not to like to say no is we've not been taught to say no. We've not been taught to stand up for ourselves. Do you know what I mean? As children, I think we're encouraged to kind of go along with things, aren't we? We're encouraged to kind of do that kind of thing. We're encouraged not to say no because it's a bit cheeky, We're encouraged just to kind of go along with the flow. So there are lots of reasons why we don't like to say no, and one of it being this defend access gets the person out of our heads. But if we do say no, well, one of the things is every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, aren't you? Because you've only got a finite amount of time. And I really like this as Keller and Pattazan, and I've used this before because it fits for lots of things. In trying to attend to all things, we shortchange everything. So we have to think of that. So saying no frees up your time, obviously. Saying no teaches you often to step out of your comfort zone. Now, obviously, dial back. Obviously, sometimes we can't say no. The boss is asking you to do something. It's within your job description. It's within your remit. And obviously, we'll all have in our job description that thing that says, and anything else your boss is asking you to do. But sometimes we have the chance to say, hang on a minute, is this my thing? Is this something that I want to do? So we sometimes have the chance to do that. And actually, one of the things about saying no is once you get used to saying it, it isn't as bad as you think. And often people, well, there are two responses from somebody, isn't there? Say, well, I'm going to make you do it because I'm your boss and I'm going to tell you you've got to do it. Fair enough. That's how hierarchical structures that we work in kind of work. There's a care and compassionate and sensitive way to do that, though. So or the person goes, all right, then I'll tell you what, I'll go and see what I can do with it. I'll see that somebody else can do that. So it isn't as bad as you think often. And the thing that saying no relies on, I think, is um, the ethical position that you hold within an organization, that people know you are usually up for it. You're a hard worker. You're okay with doing what needs to be done. And if they understand that and you say no, they're maybe more willing to kind of listen to you. So there is something about being able to say no in your early career is sometimes quite difficult, because you haven't quite fostered that status yet in terms of um, people knowing how you work, what your kind of modus operandi is around work. So they've got to understand the ethics of you and how you operate, and that's fine. And the other thing is, when you say no, it's got to be logical. It's got to be logical. You've got to be able to articulate why it is you're saying no. So let's have a look at some of the ways of saying no. And I really, love Caroline Webb's book, How to Have a Good Day. If you're interested in reading about workplace stuff and then how to get the best out of it, then this book is just really good. She says start with warmth, acknowledge and show appreciation for the person's request. Thank you for asking me. Thank you for asking me. It's nice of you to consider me for this. It's nice of you to come to me with this and give me a chance to think about it. And that's where you can have that no going on in your head, but say, so tell me more about it. You know what I mean? Tell me more about it. And then if your answer is still going to be no, then explain. So start with warmth, then explain what is it that you're saying yes to at the moment. So actually, thank you for the offer. At the minute, here's what I'm doing. And this works really well if you're really busy. Look, okay, I hear what you're saying. I can hear that it's important. Thanks for asking me. It's the sort of thing that I maybe like to do. It's the sort of thing that might appeal to me. I don't know. Tell me more about it. But right, here's what I'm saying yes to at the minute. And here's what my priorities are right now. And here are the things that I think are important in what I'm doing today, tomorrow, this week, depending on what it is you're being asked to do. And explain to them then that, with regret, this means that I feel as though I need to say no to this. Feel as though I need to say no to this because of all of these other things. Not because I'm just somebody that says no, but because of this stuff that I've outlined for you. I've outlined these things, so now I need to say no. And then end with warmth. Start with warmth, end with warmth. End with warmth. Make an offer. Look, when I get through this bit, when I get through this week, when I get through this project, whatever it is, if this is still something that needs to be done, then come back to me. Or actually, I know so and so might be really interested in this project. You know what I mean? So, what can you do to kind of what can you do to uh, try and facilitate and be helpful to the person while saying no is really important. Be clear and direct. That doesn't mean to say you can't ask questions, but be clear and direct. Let me ask some questions about that before I kind of commit to it. I need to know a little bit more, and because don't say maybe. I suppose this is what popped in my head there. Don't say maybe if your answer is really going to be no. Say maybe if you want to have more information. But if you're thinking, no, I really want to say no to this thing, then don't say maybe. Because I think what we sometimes do is we say maybe so we can go away and hope that the person then thinks, well, it was just a maybe, so I'll go and see if I can get somebody else to do it. But actually what they might do is go, oh, well, it's a maybe from Stephen, I'll just hang back. And then suddenly we're building pressure into the system, aren't we? Because that thing that we had 2 weeks to do, he's waited 2 or 3 days for your maybe to come back. And then it's a no. And it's like, well, that's not being very helpful. So if you mean no, say no, I suppose. So all of that, be honest. Use I statements. That's a really important thing with this. Normally I talk about using us and we statements. But I think sometimes there's a place for I statements. I am not able to do that right now. I'm busy working on these things, Could we maybe think about it later on? So you can kind of shift the language around this kind of stuff to kind of help you with that. So you've got to, in order to be able to do this, you've got to know clearly what's on your agenda. You've got to know clearly what it is that you're doing. And I hear a lot of people in terms of productivity kind of you'll say what you're busy with. There's this thing that he's doing, what you're busy with, and they'll say, oh, look, I have no idea. I'm just really, really busy at the minute. I've got lots on. And it's like, well, if you can't really tell me what you're busy doing, then I can't weigh up whether I still think this is appropriate for you. That's a kind of management head on there. So you've got to be able to demonstrate that you know what it is that you need to do, that you've got on at the minute, so that you can say no like that. So that there's just a hint. There's just a hint of some of the stuff. I love to do this. I love to think, what would some of the gurus who I enjoy and follow for all sorts of reasons. Some of them I like because they come up with sage nuggets of advice. Some of them are really good to listen to. Some of them just get me motivated. So I think kind of, well, what would these people think? Kind of, how might these individuals suggest saying no? What's it about? So I was having to think of this. So David Allen, author of Getting Things Done, the stress-free productivity, I think he would emphasize the importance of managing your commitments and avoiding being overwhelmed. So he would be a thank you for the opportunity, but I'm currently focusing on these priorities um, that align with my goals. And that's a Simon Sinek thing, who I'm going to talk about next as well. So he's all about clarity and control. Clarity and control over your commitments. And that's the starting point of saying no. Have you got clarity about your commitments? Then Simon Sinek, start with why guy. Um, he would say, does this request meet your why? Does it align with your principles? He would think about that. What's guiding your decision here? And then David Goggins, he's the outlier here with these guys. These guys are all about productivity. David Goggins is about discipline. The ex-Navy SEAL wrote a book, Can't Hurt Me, really good book. He's known for his mental toughness and his self-discipline. And he'd suggest saying no without over-explaining yourself and without feeling guilty about it, because you're prioritizing your own challenges. And he'd say, just say no. I'm committed at the minute to pushing myself in this direction, and I'm focused on my path. And sometimes you can say it like that, and sometimes you can't. And the other guy, Cal Newport, who I thought about, what would he say? He's the author of Deep Work, Digital Minimalism, Slow Productivity. He'd be kind of concise, I suppose, and respectful, and say no, because I need to maintain my focus on the deep work tasks that I'm working on. So there you go. There's a little bit about how to say no. Click subscribe on the YouTube channel. That's really useful to me. Do that. You can go over to my Patreon account. The link is in the thing underneath the video, and sign up there. There's a free level where I put most stuff, and every so often there's some stuff goes into a paid tier, which is just a few quid, but most of the stuff ends up in the free channel. So go and subscribe over there, and I'll love you forever. And I'm also on Instagram, and that's where I'm at. So take care, and we'll see you very soon.